Gun owners are furious as government revealed proposed changes to the law that would remove self-defense as a valid reason to own a firearm. The invitation for public comment on the draft Firearms Control Amendment Bill was released on Friday night. The public has until July to comment.
There are an estimated 4.5 million licensed firearms in South Africa, and the vast majority of those are kept for self-defense purposes. The call for comment on the proposed changes to the Firearm Control Act will see firearm licenses no longer being issued for self-defense purposes, and a repeal of Section 13 of the Act, which makes provision for this. Girls on Fire, which helps women lawfully license themselves for self-defense, says this could be a major blow in the fight against gender-based violence. Gun Owners SA says the proposed changes are a rehash of what was proposed and shot down in 2018.
Investigators in El Salvador on Friday unearthed the bodies of several victims from the home of a former police officer and suspected murderer. Authorities confirmed at least 8 bodies have been removed so far from the home of Hugo Ernesto Osorio, some 48 miles northwest of the capital, San Salvador. Osorio is a convicted rapist who was charged with the murder of 4 people earlier this month and is suspected of killing dozens more, many of them believed to be women. According to prosecutor Max Munoz, sexual violence is the leading theory for the killings. Munoz added that some victims had been reported missing for years. Neither Osorio nor his lawyer could immediately be reached for comment. Authorities also point to the possibility of a wider conspiracy. 10 others have been charged with murdering 9 women and presumably related homicides, along with 4 other victims whose bodies turned up on Osorio's property.
Belgian army troops continued trawling through a forest on Friday in search for a heavily armed soldier with far-right views who disappeared this week, according to authorities. The federal prosecutor said that 46-year-old Jurgen Konings went missing after he had made threats against Belgian institutions and celebrities, but did not give details. Weapons, including anti-tank rocket launchers and ammunition taken from a military base, were found in Konings' abandoned car in West Belgium. The Belgian government said earlier this week that Konings was on a list of potential terrorists due to far-right tendencies.
President Joe Biden hosted South Korean President Moon Jae-in at the White House. This is President Biden's second in-person meeting with a foreign leader since taking office. Both of them have hailed the strength of the alliance between the two countries after the strains of the Trump era. The leaders reiterated their deep concerns about the ongoing nuclear threat from North Korea. And in a landmark move, Biden has announced the deployment of a special envoy to the region to help refocus efforts on pressing Pyongyang to abandon its nuclear weapons program.
Oh, well, he's given them a massive win this week. He's waived sanctions on the Russian-owned company in charge of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. This is going to be something that is going to have a huge impact on Germany's energy policy, and it's giving the Russians just an enormous win. And it's at odds with his own Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, who said during his confirmation hearing, and I quote, "I'm determined to do whatever we can do to prevent the completion of Nord Stream 2. And now they've lifted the sanctions. It's just bizarre. But while we're on Biden, even when he's reading from an auto cue, Rowan, he messes up. Let's have a look at him borrowing a line from Ronald Reagan. Let's have a look at how Ronald Reagan did it firstly. Have a look.
My Coast Guard aides have been excellent. One of them taught me that, and I quote, "The Coast Guard is that hard nucleus about which the Navy forms in time of war."
One Wonderful, Ronald Reagan. And let's see now Joe Biden, like Ronald Reagan, giving a speech to the Navy this week.
I can only assume that you will enjoy educating your family about how the Coast Guard is, quote, the hard nucleus around the Navy forms in times of war. You're a really dull class. I mean, come on, man. Is the sun getting to you? I would think you'd have an opportunity when I say that about the Navy to clap, but being here together.
He not only messed up Reagan's line, but then he insulted the audience because they didn't applaud. He was expecting wild applause like Reagan got.
They set off early on Saturday for a 100-kilometre ultramarathon. 172 runners crossing the start line in just T-shirts and shorts for a track that winds its way through the mountainous Yellow River Stone Forest in China's northern Gansu province. But hours later, the temperature dropped and the race was hit by hail, freezing rain and high winds. The race was stopped after athletes went missing in the extreme weather and a search was launched. Hundreds of rescuers tackled complex terrain, including narrow, high-altitude paths, helped by thermal imaging drones and radar detectors. Local media say some of the runners had fallen off the track into deep mountain crevices. Temperatures plummeted further overnight, making the search more difficult.
The two Bureau of Prisons workers tasked with guarding Jeffrey Epstein the night that he killed himself in a New York jail have admitted that they falsified records, but they will skirt any time behind bars under a deal with prosecutors, federal prosecutors. That's according to authorities. That's just coming out. The prison workers, Tova Noel and Michael Thomas, were accused of sleeping and browsing the internet instead of monitoring Epstein the night that he took his own life in August 2019. They were charged with lying on prison records to make it seem as though they had made required checks on Epstein before he was found in his cell on August 10th. New York City's medical examiner ruled Epstein's death a suicide.
Space tourism is a step closer tonight after another successful test flight from Virgin Galactic. Billionaire Richard Branson says many Australians have already signed up for his company's commercial space flights, which will take off next year.
And there we have release, and ignition of Spaceship Two VSS Unity on the way to space.
Above the desert in New Mexico, a Virgin flight with a difference. On board is a rocket hitching a ride to the edge of space. Its two pilots hit the boosters, 60 seconds of thrust, hitting 3 times the speed of sound and leaving Earth's atmosphere. This is Virgin Galactic's first space flight since 2019, and its first from the company's new base at Spaceport America, paving the way for space tourism and a bold plan for daily civilian flights.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel has warned the pro-Palestinian protesters against any show of anti-Semitic or racist behavior ahead of expected weekend rallies in Germany. The German Chancellor also condemned anti-Jewish statements hard at recent protests over the deadly fighting between Israel and Palestinian militants in Gaza. During her weekly video podcast, Merkel called for calm and warned of possible actions against those who incite violence against the Jews in the country. Merkel said, and I quote, "Anyone who takes hatred of Jews to the streets places themselves outside the constitutional order, and such perpetrators must be punished," end quote.